Welcome back to JAK Sports. My name is Jacob Kelly, and this is the show where we take you through the biggest stories in sports that you might have missed this week. If I look a little bit more blue than normal, it's because I use natural lighting to do my videos, and it's a little bit cloudy out there today, so it might be a little bit bluer than normal, but today's going to be all about free agency. It's free agent frenzy. We got the NBA and NHL free agency. We also have a couple other stories to talk about, so let's just get to it. Tom Brady has finally addressed his comments that he has had several concussions, even as recently as last year. We talked about a few weeks ago how his wife Gisele Bündchen said accidentally in an interview that he's had several concussions, one as early as last year, which is odd because Brady's last reported concussion was 2003 and his last reported injury was 2008. Tom Brady finally addressed these comments saying the following: "She's there every day. I mean, we go to bed in the same bed every night, so I think she knows when I'm sore, she knows when I'm tired, she knows when I get hit. We drive home together, but she also knows how well I take care of my body. She's a very concerned wife and very loving." In that statement, Tom Brady didn't say whether or not he's had concussions. He didn't address the statement directly. He didn't even say the word concussion in his statement. So just to me, it sounds like he's definitely had these concussions. I would not be surprised. The guy gets banged up all the time and it's just going to go unreported. I 100% believe that he's had concussions. I don't think his last concussion was 2003. Wayne Rooney might be leaving Manchester United. He's been with the club since he was 18 years old, but now he's 31 years old, and under Jose Mourinho, he's playing with a diminished role. Rooney is ready to move on from Manchester, but only for one specific team: Everton, the team that developed him when he was younger. Rooney is willing to take a pay cut to facilitate a transfer from Manchester United to Everton, where he started his career. And while yes, as I talked about, the diminished role is a reason for Rooney wanting to leave Manchester United, another reason is he wants to play for England at the 2018 FIFA World Cup. And English manager Gareth Southgate warned Rooney that if he wants to make the 2018 FIFA World Cup roster, he has to be playing regular football this upcoming season, something he's not going to accomplish playing at Manchester United. However, Rooney will be getting regular playing time if he does go to Everton, so I think if he is in Everton, he will make the 2018 English roster as a veteran presence, as is a pretty young squad going into the FIFA World Cup. And I think that the 2018 will be Rooney's last chance at winning the FIFA World Cup, because after that, I don't think he'll make it again. I see him doing a short tenure at Everton, maybe a few more years, and then jumping over to North America potentially to finish his career in the MLS. My prediction, if Rooney does jump to the MLS, he will play for Miami under owner David Beckham. Speaking of Miami, the Miami Marlins of the MLB are prepared to have an absolute fire sale. The team itself is up for sale, and in order to make it more appealing to potential buyers, they are trying to eliminate some of their larger contracts to eliminate debt. No one is safe from this fire sale. Players with names like Ozuna, Yelich, Ramos are up, and even Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton is currently 3 years into a 13-year, $325 million deal. If they're able to get rid of him, that eliminates a lot of debt. He's guaranteed $77 million over the next 3 seasons, and after that, he's able to opt out of his contract. But even if they're able to get rid of that $77 million guaranteed, that frees up a lot of debt, and that in its own right will make the team more appealing to potential buyers. I think Stanton's a great player. I just don't know what team would potentially trade for him. He is a good player, as I said. He's supposed to be a big home run hitter with a lot of power, though, yet he's never hit the 40 home run plateau. He's hit 37 home runs twice, and he also has some issues with durability. He's only surpassed 130 games played once in the last 5 seasons. And yes, Stanton's home runs not hitting 40 can be linked directly to the fact that he has durability issues and he hasn't played enough games in order to hit the 40 home runs. But I think that the size of his contract, coupled with the fact that he does have some durability issues, could deter teams from potentially trading for him. Now, over to the free agent frenzy. Last week, we talked about how Connor McDavid could be signing an extension for 8 years, $106 million. He signed that extension this week, but not for as much money as reported. He signed for 8 years, $100 million. So still a lot of money. And I think this is great for Edmonton. If you want to know how good I think Connor McDavid will be, you have to watch my video last week. I talked about what I think his ceiling is and how good I think he could end up being. And it's great for the Oilers. They secured a bright young star. It's good for their future, and people are going to come in to see McDavid. He's good for ticket sales, good for merchandise. I want to see how this contract extension is going to affect other bright young stars. Are Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel and players like them going to be signing extensions with numbers around this $100 million figure? Carey Price also signed an 8-year extension. The Montreal Canadiens goalie signed for 8 years, $84 million. Price will be 39 when his contract finally expires, and for the sake of both these players, I hope that McDavid and Carey Price each win a Stanley Cup before the end of their contract. I think Connor McDavid will win one within the next 8 years, and I really hope Carey Price does. It was reported that Ilya Kovalchuk was looking to make a jump back to the NHL. However, he didn't want to play in New Jersey, so he was looking to get traded from New Jersey, as they have his rights until he turns 35. New Jersey couldn't find a suitable deal, so therefore they aren't going to be trading Kovalchuk. As a result, Kovalchuk will not be coming back to the NHL. He'll be returning to the KHL for one more season until he turns 35, and when that happens, he is free to sign with any team in the NHL. So not this upcoming season, but expect the season after to see Ilya Kovalchuk back in North America. The young Toronto Maple Leafs added a veteran presence to their locker room. They signed San Jose great Patrick Marleau to 3 years, $18.75 million. Now, I think that is a lot for a player that's going to be 38 years old when the season starts, but it makes sense for Toronto as he brings a veteran presence to this team. He's going to be good for them, and I 100% expect Patrick Marleau to be awarded the C in Toronto next year. Speaking of the San Jose Sharks, Joe Thornton re-signed with the club for 1 year, $8 million. And I would not be surprised if this will be his last season in the NHL. He's 38 years old and his play is starting to decline, so I think this is his last crack at a Stanley Cup. A team that I think is having a solid offseason is the Dallas Stars. They picked up the best defenseman available in the draft, Amir Haskinen. They then acquired another solid defenseman from the Las Vegas Golden Knights and Mark Bethot. And then they picked up a solid two-way big centerman in Martin Hanzal. He does have some durability issues, but I still think he's a quality pickup. And then they signed a solid right winger in Alex Radulov from Montreal. Now over to the NBA free agency. Paul George was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Cool. Doesn't really do that much. I mean, yes, it will elevate the Oklahoma City Thunder a little bit, but it's not going to get them a championship. Paul George, I guarantee you, will not be re-signing in Oklahoma City, and they're not getting past Golden State. But I do think an Oklahoma City Golden State series would be fun. KD versus Russ. But I don't think this was the greatest trade for Oklahoma City. Like, it's not bad, but they got rid of their second best scorer last year in Oladipo, and they got rid of a solid rookie who started 66 games in Sabonis for a 1 year rental who's not going to get them over the top and who's going to guaranteed leave after one season. It'll be fun for a year, but realistically, this trade is best for Los Angeles. This guarantees pretty much that Paul George will sign with the Lakers in next offseason. In my opinion, I think Oklahoma City would have been better off if they'd gone and tried to pursue Paul Millsap as opposed to trading for Paul George. They didn't, and Paul Millsap signed with Denver for 3 years, $90 million. Now, Denver was not on my radar for teams Paul Millsap to go to. I talked about it about a month ago where I think he could potentially end up. I'll link to it in the description down below, but as I said, Denver wasn't on my radar, but I think it's not a bad fit for Millsap. Now, Denver is a bright young team, and they have a solid front court now with Paul Millsap and Jokic, and they were just out of a playoff spot next year, so I think Millsap being there could elevate them to a late playoff spot, 7th or 8th seed, and I mean, probably losing the first round, but at least they'll get there. It's reported that the Atlanta Hawks didn't even offer Paul Millsap a contract, and that to me just says that Atlanta Hawks are going to be rebuilding. And now with that, Atlanta Hawks eliminating themselves pretty much from playoff contention, they're going to be rebuilding. That means that the Philadelphia 76ers might actually squeak into the playoffs. I didn't think they'd be able to do it, but now the Indiana Pacers aren't going to be very good without Paul George. If Atlanta's rebuilding, they're not going to be in the playoffs. I could see the 76ers squeaking into the 7th or 8th seed this season. Speaking of teams in the Eastern Conference, the Toronto Raptors just re-signed Kyle Lowry for 3 years, $100 million. I think this is a pretty good deal for the Raptors. 3 years, $100 million is quite a bit, but the fans love Kyle Lowry, and they love the companionship between Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, so having both those guys there for the next 3 years is going to keep fans in their seats and keep them coming back. I also think 3 years is not a bad call for the Raptors. Lowry is 31. He'll be 34 by the time his contract ends, and I think by that point his play will be starting to diminish, so if they signed for anything longer, they'd probably be overpaying for him at that point. So I think 3 years does make sense for the Raptors. Lowry also said that a reason for him coming back is he thinks that the Raptors could be a championship team sooner than later, but I have to disagree. They aren't getting past Cleveland. They won't be getting past Boston. Now they picked up Gordon Hayward. Milwaukee's only getting better. If they even want a shot at making it to the finals to play another solid team from the Western Conference, most likely Golden State, they need to add another piece, and right now there's not really anyone available. They could potentially try and trade for Carmelo Anthony, but that's not going to do much for this team. I don't see Toronto being a championship team sooner. I definitely think it's going to be later. Speaking of the Toronto Raptors, former Toronto Raptors superstar Chris Bosh has been waived by the Miami Heat. This is a result of an ongoing issues with a blood clot that resulted in Bosh not playing a single game in the 2016-2017 season. As a parting gift to Bosh, the Miami Heat are giving him a severance pay, and they're also going to retire his number. And I think alongside the retired number will be Chris Bosh retiring himself. The Los Angeles Clippers signed long-coveted international Serbian superstar Milos Teodosic. The 30-year-old guard has signed for 2 years, $12.5 million, and prior to signing was ranked the #1 international player not in the NBA. The 6'5" guard has great size, and he's an unbelievable passer, and it's going to be fun to see him in the NBA. Patrick Beverley already thinks he's the best passer in the NBA. That is yet to be seen, but I'm really interested to see how he adapts. The Boston Celtics signed Gordon Hayward for 4 years, $128 million. This reunites Hayward with his college coach, Brad Stevens, and I think Hayward is a great player, but I don't think he's enough to elevate the Boston Celtics past the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs next year. Now, Boston could have acquired a better piece to, instead of Hayward, or even to play alongside Gordon Hayward, because they could have acquired Paul George, but Danny Ainge thought that Indiana was asking way too much to get that superstar player. The Oklahoma City Thunder just got him for Oladipo and a rookie. Boston could have acquired Paul George without getting rid of Jason Tatum or any of their precious draft picks. That is unbelievable, and they passed on that deal, and I don't understand. Could you imagine? Boston could have beat the Cavaliers with Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford, Gordon Hayward, and Paul George on the same team, but they passed on it because they couldn't get rid of some role players and maybe like one draft pick. I think Danny Ainge, as I said last week, he's done great to get all these assets, but his team needs to win, and they could have won and put together a super team. Speaking of super teams, the NBA champion, the Golden State Warriors, are having a great offseason. They're only getting better. The Golden State Warriors picked up Jordan Bell in the draft this year, the power forward out of Oregon, who's a great paint protector, something Golden State doesn't have very much of. He's also good at attacking the rim. The Warriors also re-signed Steph Curry for 4 years, $200 million. Kevin Durant opted out of his current contract to re-sign with the Warriors at 2 years, $53 million, a reduced rate to ensure that Steph can come back and they could keep their team together. They also re-signed Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, and Zaza Pachulia, pretty much keeping all of their key players from last season on the team next year. They also added Nick Young, Swaggy P, and Omri Caspi, who are both solid three-point shooters. So they got a little bit better at protecting the rim. They added a couple good more three-point shooters so they can shoot the three ball better than last year. They kept all their main guys on the team. This team is going to be maybe just a little bit better than they were this year, and they almost swept the entire playoffs. And on the other hand, the Cleveland Cavaliers haven't really done anything. They re-signed Kyle Korver and Richard Jefferson, but they missed on Paul George. They didn't sign Paul Millsap. Didn't even really pursue Gordon Hayward. Didn't get Chris Paul, a friend of LeBron James. So right now, their only hope is in Carmelo Anthony, and they probably have to trade someone like Kevin Love to get him. So I don't even think Melo would elevate the team that much. I think Cleveland could have done a lot better in this offseason. I think they're a little restricted with the size of some of their contracts that LeBron James got for his friends, like Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, but they just haven't done enough. And as of right now, the Golden State Warriors are my pick to win the 2018 NBA championship. Cleveland hasn't done really anything in order to make the team better, the team that lost in 5 games to the Warriors last year. That concludes my recap of the first week of free agency in the NHL and the NBA. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow JAK Sports on social media on Instagram at JAK Sport, no S on the end. You can follow me on Twitter at TheJacobKelly and on Instagram at JKels97. Make sure you let me know in the comments section down below what you think of this free agency so far, who you're excited to see play on a new team. Feel free to DM me on Instagram any sports questions that you have, what you want to know my opinion. I will answer any sports DM that I get. Thank you once again for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this video, and I will see you next week.